Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed Khalid, and today I'll be presenting the following paper titled as Examining the Role of Urban Communities in Redistributing Population Empirical Evidence from Egypt. So the current presentation will mainly have five main parts: introduction, literature review, research question, research methodology, findings, conclusion, and discussion. So starting with the introduction. Over the last century, the concept of urban communities has developed extensively to fit each of the countries and citizen context and culture. Originally, the urban communities were developed in England, where two garden cities were developed with the contribution of Evans and Howard's participation. Then, in 1922, the concept was adopted in Italy. In 1946 and in 1966, the new urban communities were developed in the United Kingdom and France due to the destruction caused by the Second World War, and the new urban communities were developed mainly around Paris and London in order to start absorb the population away from these major cities, finally reaching Egypt in 1979, where a notably extension into the desert occurred in Egypt to build many new urban communities after the war in 1973 to overcome the high population density in the Nile Valley and the major cities. So here we can see the development of the first generation of new urban communities mainly around Cairo, and the development of the second generation of new urban communities where they developed mainly around Cairo and south to Aswan, sort of development of new urban communities of Aswan. Finally, the development of the third and fourth generation of new urban communities. The third generation of new urban communities mainly resolved around Aswan, while the fourth generation of new urban communities have not been defined yet, or their locations have not been specified to this day. So interestingly, when we look at Egypt's three ring roads surrounding Greater Cairo were developed to limit further extension on the agricultural land and restrain Cairo's urban sprawl, similarly to England's Green Belt. Moving on to the literature review and research questions. So literature review is split into five main concepts. Improving the urban communities in Egypt needs policy modifications, such as encouraging decentralization, coordination between relevant policies at the national level, and an upgraded legal framework, maximizing participation of private investors in urban communities to improve management criteria. Development of urban communities must include growth, change, which should be implemented using the quality and quantity simultaneously in the social, cultural, and economical aspects. Regional, economical, environmental, and social studies and plans should be part of a project to efficiently build connections and interrelationships between existing cities. More than proposing new towns is needed to solve the problems caused by the overpopulation. So the current research problem for the paper is, although investment in urban communities is often seen as the best alternative to overcome the high population densities in the Nile Valley and major cities, yet many of these cities have yet to reach their initial target of occupation rate, where the average occupation rate between all the urban communities brings up an average of 25%, which is somewhat extremely low. This has pushed the paper to provide the following research question, which is: are new urban community expansion practices in Egypt able to distribute the population fairly efficiently, and if not, why? And the aim of research is to provide quantitative evidence from the viewpoints of residents and non-residents of neighboring communities in Egypt to bridge the gap in the strategic approach to the development of new areas. Furthermore, getting insights regarding new residents and non-residents viewpoints on new urban communities and possible issues that need to be resolved. Moving on to the research methodology. So the three variables which will be used to measure the ability of new urban communities to redistribute Egypt's population are the quality of life, which means the availability of facilities and necessities; attraction and satisfaction, which is the satisfaction and willingness to move or stay within the urban community; independency, the ability of an urban community to act and develop on their own. So different indicators were highlighted to express each of the variables, as seen in the table. English and Arabic versions of the questionnaires were developed to assess the perspectives of residents and non-residents using indicators. In September 2022, final versions were distributed mainly electronically, targeting Egypt's main cities and the first three generations of the urban communities present, while the fourth generation of new urban communities were excluded from the study as they are still being developed and built. Moving on to the sample characteristics. By the end of September 2022, 653 usable responses were used for the analysis in the study. The total responses were classified according to 254 responses from residents of neighboring communities, 279 responses from non-residents of neighboring communities. The sample characteristics show a variety in data. For example, 40% were from the first generation of neighboring communities, 40% were from the third generation of neighboring communities, and only 22% from the third generation of neighboring communities. Finally, the data gathered was analyzed using ESS program. Moving on to the findings. So for the quality of life, assessment of new urban community residents and non-residents showed that the quality of life in the urban community is relatively low, as total average scores of this variable are 3.77 and 3.64 respectively. Results indicate that residents and non-residents slightly disagree that new urban communities provide a good standard for quality of life. As for the independency, the analysis of new urban community residents and non-residents showed that the independency of neighboring community is relatively low, as the total average score of this variable are 4.13 and 3.65 respectively. Results indicated that residents and non-residents believe that neighboring communities need more jobs, especially essential needs, housing units, as they still depend on other major cities such as Cairo and Alexandria. As for the attraction and satisfaction, the results demonstrated that residents and non-residents slightly agree that new urban communities attract and satisfy people, as the average score was 3.48 and 4.12 respectively. In addition, they believe that because new urban communities are less attractive, they barely mitigated the overpopulation in the major cities in Egypt. Further analysis. More analysis was done to explore how residents and non-residents consider relevant factors contributing to the development of and improving of residency in urban communities. Results show that residents and non-residents weigh the 8 factors used differently. There are no significant differences in the rank of improving. There are no significant differences, only in the rank of improving infrastructure, healthcare, and educational services. Moving on to the conclusion, discussion, and future research. So what can be concluded from the research is that results show that although the varieties of residents and non-residents in developing urban communities differed, they really realized that urban communities are less effective in solving the problem of overpopulation in big cities, leading to lower overall quality of life. Furthermore, results demonstrated that Egyptian urban communities need to be more self-contained and independent, and the housing prices need to be revised to be reachable to most of the Egyptian citizens, as well as these findings support the results of prior studies and that concluded that neighboring communities must become more attractive to absorb more of the population from the major cities, such as Cairo and Alexandria. And this supports the results of Sims 2014, Ahmed and Dimitri, Shaukat, and Abdurrahman. Some of the implications provided by the research are: first, implication definition of low and middle income groups in Egypt need to be redefined or revisited. The second implication included institutional preferences and policies regarding land management, property management, and housings must be revisited. The implication stated that to make urban communities more attractive, responsible authorities and developers must get feedback, opinions, suggestions, and desires of various stakeholders involved. The independency of urban communities must be reinvestigated. Public authorities, especially the urban communities, should reassess the accuracy of published statistics and realism of the target population for these urban communities. As for the future research, future researchers are invited to replicate the study's findings using large samples that could include cities from the fourth generation of urban communities, sending the results of the study by investigating the opinions of other stakeholders, such as, for example, experts, as well as combining questionnaires and case study analysis to verify these findings. Thank you very much. I'll be interested in your questions. Thank you very much.